Hello, hello. A little feedback there. Mute you up. All right. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the Black Brain Trust. Today is Wednesday, September 24th. This is no, I apologize, not Wednesday, Monday, kind of ahead. Monday, September 24th. This is our
Man,
Spaces.
Florida, that Florida life getting to you already, I
Yeah,
see.
the sun, man, the sun. This is our Space and Technology show. We co-host Lionel. We have another co-host, Mike. How you doing today?
I'm good, brother. Yourself?
I'm well. I'm well. Also have Ulysses here. How you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you guys doing?
All right.
Good.
All right. With that said, let's jump into our first topic on the docket. The first topic on the docket comes from Ars Technica, titled "Construction to Begin on 36 Megawatt Moroccan Wind Farm for Bitcoin Mining." This is getting serious, ladies and gentlemen. Getting serious. All right. Written by Megan Guice on September 18th. While Soluna.io waits for transmission lines, it's hoping to cash in on stranded energy. What's stranded energy? All right. Morocco has a lot of prime real estate for wind energy along its southern coast, but without robust transmission lines to move electricity from there to more populated centers, a traditional wind energy company might wait years for a grid connection before it could start making money. But if you're connected to the internet, one option might be to build a grid isolated wind farm and use it locally while you wait for a connection to the rest of the grid. In Suluna's case, the money making byproduct that makes local use worth it is Bitcoin mining. So Luna, a Bitcoin mining company, is going to start construction on a 36 megawatt wind farm near Dakhala, Morocco in January 2019. Company spokesperson Yaouf Reisler told ours the company has the rights to 37,000 acres of land, which could eventually accommodate up to 900 megawatts of wind capacity. The company, formed by New York private equity firm Brookstone Partners, hopes to raise $100 million to complete the project, which which in addition to the 36 megawatts of wind will include computing facilities that draw up to 18 megawatts, as well as an energy storage system to power the computing center when the wind slacks. Bitcoin mining is a notoriously power hungry endeavor, consuming gigawatts of power, as application specific integrated circuits, or ASICs, chug through computational intense problems to produce keys that translate to coins. That makes energy one of the major cost drivers for Bitcoin miners after the equipment is purchased. Finding a stable source of energy is a primary concern for those startups still in the mining business. When Bitcoin was at its peak price last winter, projections showed that energy consumption would only grow as the price of Bitcoin rose. Miners flocked to areas around the world with cheap electricity, like northern New York, although communities there have moved to stop the company from driving up electricity prices. Bitcoin startups have been hit Bitcoin startups have even had bad ideas, like firing up a decommissioned coal plant in Australia to power their mining rigs. Now, at the price of Bitcoin has fallen more than half since its December peak, the frantic energy surrounding the crypto coin has died down somewhat. In an email to ours, John Bel- Bellares, the CEO of Soluna, said that in the near term, Soluna still plans to mine Bitcoin, but that may not be forever. Over time, we will produce computing to broader, diversified blockchain applications that are not cryptocurrencies, Belazer said. Eventually, though, the company hopes to sell some of its electricity back to the grid in Morocco through power purchase agreements or PPAs. Morocco has a law in place that effectively guarantees a PPA for energy providers. Belazer told ours, "We will start with that and grow from there." The law in question, Belazer said, allows people to develop energy sources for self-computing and also allows the government of Morocco to purchase up to 20% of our excess power. Depending on our future capacity, we may engage with a larger commercial off-taker in the country and beyond to purchase our power, he added, although he admitted that Morocco's law framework 16-08 currently prevents certain renewable investors from selling more than 20% of the renewable power back to the grid. This will require Morocco's law framework 16-08 be replaced by 13-09, Balazer noted. The project is also overshadowed by geopolitical concerns. Moroccan control over the southern portion of the country has been tenuous and was disrupted by the Sahrawi people until the ceasefire in 1991. Western Sahara Resource Watch, an organization advocating against further Moroccan influence in the Western Sahara region, denounced the project in August for violating the rights of the Sahrawi people and accusing Morocco of trying to involve foreign companies to legitimize its occupation of Western Sahara. In an earlier interview with Grain Tech Media, Belazar said that Soluna was fully aware of the political sensitivities of the region and noted that the company's investments in Dakhla, Morocco, fully respect their legal frameworks that pertain to energy development. Belazar said that management of the wind farm will be contracted out, and Soluna employees hired in Morocco will manage the computing farm. In a way, vertically integrating with the energy industry is a reasonable hedge against the price of Bitcoin bottoming out. Not only will the computing center be set up to provide other blockchain services or to mine other crypto coins, but Belazer told ours that the company has the option to use our high density computing platforms to power AI, machine learning, and graphic rendering applications. All right. I've long thought that the Bitcoin mining farms at some point in time, read the title again, I apologize. Construction will begin on 36 megawatt Moroccan farm, wind farm for Bitcoin mining. But the Bitcoin mining farms, as the difficulty to mine Bitcoin gets harder and harder as the years go by, and it's said that the last Bitcoin will be mined sometime in 2100 some 2100. But the as the difficulty for Bitcoin to mine Bitcoin gets harder and harder, it's the rewards are due to be halved in the future, which means it's going to get harder and harder. And some of these Bitcoin mining farms are going to need another way to use their computational power to do other things, to put their um, mining power to other things. And at the end of this was the different ideas was power AI, machine learning, and graphic rendering applications. Um, right now, to with the low price of Bitcoin, it's not going to be low forever. But as more and more people get into mining, not people, but companies get into mining and build better mining facilities, it's just going to be harder. So you're going to be stuck with this powerful computing um, technology and these ant miners and so on. So they're going to use this something else. And with this building, what's the word I'm looking for? Building energy companies. That's, in my opinion, is one way to go to hedge your losses in Bitcoin mining.
Well, I was gonna say, first off, like that was a very interesting article. Um, I think and you said something to the tune of, was it 37,000 acres? Is
Yeah,
that what they have? That okay, that and the term that they used was, what do they call it? Errant energy, or what do they call that? There was a term that you used that they used in that article. I think it was like
Let's go back to the article.
stray energy or errant energy or something like that.
Let's see if I can go back. I think it sounds like Aaron energy. Go
Yeah, it
back.
was like stray energy, or it was some term. And the terms actually stood out to me, in relation to the amount of space. Okay. So, if you go through the trouble of capturing this stray or errant energy in this 37,000 acre space, then, you want to go in with the idea of the approach that there's going to be multiple uses and applications for this. Right. So even if they do the Bitcoin mining with it, well, just roll it over into another currency. Right. And then utilize that mining power, right? That processing power to mine something else. Or maybe you're going to be mining, or maybe you section it off and you're going to be mining baskets of different things, right? You commodify it all. Another thing is energy capture, energy collection, energy storage. Again, like literally, like being like a contract power provider for like an AI firm or something like that. I can see so many applications for something like this than just mining Bitcoin.
Hmm. Mike, hello.
Wait, I don't know if Mike's muted or we can't hear him.
No, I'm here.
Okay. Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Any comments on that?
No, I just think it's interesting that this is happening in Morocco. This is the northern part of Africa. So um, they're actually in a more advanced position than the rest of southern portion of Africa, central part of Africa, because things are developed. The coastline that they're close to actually provides all that wind power. Um, I think with the way technology is moving now, especially with AMD, Intel lacking on chips, AMD ramping up, better technology processing coming along, you're going to probably see more blocks being um, numbers being crunched for cryptocurrencies. That makes this whole entire project more efficient. So keep in mind that just because a system is set up now doesn't mean that it can't change in a year from now. I used to work in data centers early in my career, and that was not uncommon to see whole entire clusters of servers just be taken out to replace with higher performing computers. Um,
Mhm.
even at the end of the life cycle or before the end of the life cycle, they make sure that they get the most efficient processing power because they're paying for electricity from the grid, so they have to make sure that they utilize every kilowatt per hour as efficiently as possible. So, uh, with this kind of wind project going into place, you can definitely see constant searching for new technology to take advantage of the kilowatts in in
Mhm.
that area.
Hmm. And Bitcoin is a extremely not labor, energy intensive thing to
Energy.
mine. So I'm just throwing this out there. We spoke about it before. What if Bitcoin isn't the dominant coin in the future? So these companies are going to be left with this this hardware and this land. So they're going to use this technology, this hardware to do other things. So they're sitting there with it's like they're sitting there with a electric company right there on
Yeah. Yeah.
thousands of acres of land.
Yeah.
So hey, okay, so we got a new business. Let's provide light and electricity to wherever we're at because they purposely have gone to areas where they can get cheap labor, where you got sun majority of the year, where you have um, thermal vents. So they purposely went to these places so they can produce their own energy. And we've talked about it before. You got this AI coming up, machine learning, this rendering. So this hardware can be used for other things.
And,
So
and
this,
Lionel,
go ahead.
let's also not forget wireless energy transfer, right? Because right
Mhm.
now you have a lot of you have a lot of experimentation and development being done with, say, for example, when you have like a chain of autonomous trucks running along a road, Tesla trucks, for example, right? There'll be like maybe like a strip of 5 or 10 mile road where when they run across it, the batteries will just wirelessly charge, right? Due
Really?
to a charging strip on the road. Yeah, oh, yeah. Right. So now you're talking about sourcing the energy to do wireless charging. There's all these different patents and all this stuff. A lot of different companies working on this right now. They all hold some sort of. Hyundai holds one for the what is it? The Ionic, their EV line. Honda has it. Tesla. Oh, they all do. And so what I'm saying is that energy can be privately sourced.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's even like a future application that I could see being prevalent right there, right? Like just because you'll always have a 24/7 on demand uh, energy source.
And
And
these
hey, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, these Bitcoin mining firms are multifaceted companies. Now, just because you opened up for Bitcoin mining in the early years when Bitcoin was out, next thing you know, a decade from now, they turn into something else.
And real quick, I wanted to just shout out Reynold Cherry. I haven't peeped that name in the chat. So if that's your first time, bro, welcome. He
Yeah,
said,
welcome.
yeah, he said definitely betting on machine learning as taking on the CPU workload, AI as a service. So he was just, chiming in on the discussion there.
All right. Let's get to our next article from CNBC.com. Title: Look inside a deep space habitat for NASA to take astronauts to Mars. Written by Kathleen Clifford on September 19th. Excuse me, article. Elon Musk just booked his first SpaceX tourist to head to the moon, and Musk also has plans to get to Mars. He is not alone. NASA is on the job too. A first round of prototypes for deep space habitats to one day carry humans to Mars will be delivered by a group of contractors to NASA for testing in 2019. NASA spokesperson Catherine Hamilton tells CNBC Make It. The renderings of the deep space habitats are fascinating. NASA released its own rendering embedded below in 2016 when it announced the selection of a handful of private space companies: Bigelow Aerospace, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Innovation Systems, formerly Orbital ATK, Sierra Nevada Corporation's Space Systems, and NanoRacks that will come up with the prototypes for deep space habitats. And this was the prototype in 2016 on your screen. The partnership between the public companies and NASA is called Next Step and aims to support commercial development of deep space exploration capabilities to support more extensive human spaceflight missions in and beyond cislunar space, the space near Earth that extends just below the moon, NASA says. One of the specific projects for Next Step is habitation systems, which provide a safe place for humans to live as we move beyond Earth on our journey to Mars, NASA says. NASA is on an ambitious expansion of human spaceflight, including the journey to Mars, and we're utilizing the innovation, skills, and knowledge of both the government and private sectors, said Jason Cruson, director of NASA's Advanced Exploration Systems, said when did I no said when the companies were announced. In August 2016, the companies were given approximately 24 months to deliver the results of their innovative work. In August of this year, Lockheed Martin, the aerospace company, officially announced it started bending metal, aka starting construction, on its prototype. Company spokesperson Daniel Hoff tells CNBC Make It. The interior of Lockheed Martin's lunar module, the capsule astronauts would live in on their way to the moon, a rendering of which is embedded below, as you can see on your screen. It's also a template for the prototype Lockheed Martin will use to build a habitat for taking humans to deep space. We would use the lunar habitat to prove out the technology to serve as a baseline for habitats for future deep space missions beyond the moon. Hoff tells CNBC Make It. Everything for the next step contract is to validate technologies to eventually go to Mars, cislunar, or anything around the moon is a perfect proving ground because it still has the challenges of communications delay and radiation that aren't the case with low Earth orbit or LEO. Also, with a sustained presence at the moon that will be used as a stop for longer duration missions, we like to call it a spaceport, like an airport, for other destinations, she says. Living in space requires special technologies for everyday activities. It is easy to take things for granted when you are living at home, said Bill Pratt, Lockheed Martin's Next Step program manager, in a written statement released in July announcing the development of the prototype. Something as simple as calling your family is completely different when you are outside of low Earth orbit. While building this habitat, we have to operate in a different mindset that's more akin to long trips to Mars to ensure we keep them safe, healthy, and productive. The deep space habitat has specific regions to accommodate particular needs of the astronauts. There is storage for food and other living essentials, a crew sleeping area, a robotic workstation, a fitness area on the ceiling, as well as an area for other space experiments. Also, since this is a deep space habitat, radiation shielding is critical compared to low Earth orbit systems. Some of the storage will be dual purpose to protect against radiation, Hoff tells CNBC Make It. Here are photos of the Lockheed Martin Deep Space Module being constructed at the Kennedy Space Center in Orlando, Florida. As you can see on the screen, the exterior of the module Lockheed Martin is using to develop a prototype for the deep space habitat. So the first photo is of the inside. They just planned it out. This is the exterior of it. Okay. And more photos of the exterior of it. All right. And here's an artist rendering of the deep space habitat prototype from Lockheed Martin orbiting the moon. All right, below are three more artist renderings of the outside of deep space habitats from Boeing, Sierra Nevada Corporation Space Systems, and Northrop Grumman Innovation Systems, respectively. These companies did not share images of the inside of a deep space habitat. So the first one, as you see, is from Boeing. It's the first photo. The second one is Sierra Nevada Corporations, as you can see right there in the middle. And the third one is from Northrop Grumman. All right, rounding out the article. One company on the NASA roster came up with prototypes. NanoRocks is building space habitats with space junk or spent materials that otherwise burn up on reentry. These are huge, voluminous, advanced structures that cost millions, and today we just throw them out. Abby Dickies, spokesperson for the Houston headquartered commercial space company, tells CNBC Make It. Upper stages cost around 50 million US dollars, and today they complete their primary mission, such as deploying a satellite, and then fall into their reentry burn. Instead, with our program, the upper stage would get a second life in which some pre-outfitting on the ground would allow us to keep the upper stage in orbit and convert it into a habitat. Pretty cool. Some habitats could be permanent and allow for refueling, resurfacing to remain in orbit, or maybe some have a set lifespan and deorbit after a few years. For us, it's about what the customer wants. Dickies explains to CNBC Make It via email. In a response to NASA, NanoRocks is specifically working on low Earth orbit, not immediately Mars, and some others are focused, according to Dickies. Looking at all the plethora, excuse me, of vehicles we have going to orbit, each has an upper stage and each has the potential to be a commercial outpost. This means at a very low cost, we can make unique, customizable outposts that can be driven by customer and market needs all throughout the solar system. Dickie tells CNBC Make It. All right, title. Look inside a deep space habitat for NASA to take astronauts to Mars. Any comments on this one?
Well, we've been talking about this since July. That space, one in every three startups will be a space startup. So We see that there's a market. The market is growing now rapidly in the last few months. Um, I think you know the whales, the big fish, the big whales are gonna put in a lot of chips on this. I say we sit back and let them do all the heavy work, and we come in and as a the small fish, the guppy fish come in and fulfill the last mile, right?
Yep.
So
I
let them
mean,
set up the infrastructure. We leverage the infrastructure.
I mean, you say last mile. I mean, you're talking about space. I mean, dude, there is no last mile. That's the thing, right? I think that's the exciting part about all of it is, and you're right. Like, let them do the heavy lifting, and we do a lot of the learning from that, and then find niches to fill, find other opportunities, new discoveries. I mean, it's really wide open. And I thought it was interesting. Like the company is called Next Step. That was the company that Lano referred to. Is called Next Step, right? That's doing this.
Correct.
Now, I'm wondering if they're related to the Next Step that Steve Jobs ran, which basically uh, was what was well, he left that to join Apple, or I'm not sure if Apple acquired a part of it or how that worked, but that's interesting because I saw how even Next Step, how it was spelled, and I posted a link to the Wikipedia for Next Step. It was basically the OS, the Mac OS, or the legacy variant of what's that?
No, I was gonna say it was actually next, not next step. It was just next.
Just Next.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
okay,
next. That was it.
just Next. Okay.
Next computing. Next computing.
All right. Let's head on to our next article. This one comes from CoinDesk.com. Title: U.S. Navy launches blockchain research in mission to improve tracking system. Written by Daniel Palmer on September 21st. A U.S. Navy command exploring the potential of blockchain technology in tracking aircraft parts. Hmm. The Naval Air Systems Command, or NAVAIR, will provide material support for aircraft and airborne weapon systems for the Navy. Announced in a press release Friday, it is investigating whether blockchain could trace parts through their life cycle more effectively and cost effectively than the current methods. Knowing the origin and history of flight critical aircraft parts is a resource consuming process that drives up the cost to operate military aircraft, NAVAIR explains. With existing systems, after delivery, parts are tracked using a paper based process and manually recorded on a database. However, the Naval Command has kickstarted research that hopes to switch Naval Aviation Enterprise processes to a permission blockchain. For the effort, a team of NAVAIR's Fleet Readiness Center Southwest has partnered with Indiana Technology and Manufacturing Companies, or ITAMCO, to use its Simba chain, a blockchain as a service platform developed in conjunction with DARPA. Wow. With the agreement, the Navy is specifically eyeing Simba chain protocols that it says can quickly and securely recall large data sets. Ultimately, the partners have to develop a conceptual framework for a blockchain supply chain system that provides visibility and security. The proof of concept will be a permission chain, which a consensus mechanism that NAVAIR says requires less computing power than proof of work systems, as used by protocols like Bitcoin. According to the release, there are issues to overcome. A distributed supply chain increases vulnerability to outside attacks, so cybersecurity is a vital area of focus. By bringing the experts together early in the development of possible architectures, the Navy Command says the authorities will better understand the risk and reward of a connected distributed system. The team working on the research believes the increased visibility and traceability of a blockchain system will help NAVAIR support the Naval Air Mission with an increased emphasis on safety and at a reduced cost, it adds. As CoinDesk has reported previously, last June, the U.S. Navy's innovation arm, 2, has been working to trial blockchain potential in bringing added security to its 3D printing systems. The trial, led by Naval Innovation Advisory Council, said to use blockchain to form a data sharing layer between the Navy's various 3D printing sites. Title again: U.S. Navy launches blockchain research and mission to improve tracking systems. So this is more of a somewhat a supply chain. The parts that are used to build various naval ships and planes and other things, what they'll be doing is having a permission blockchain, not a permission list, but a permission which is more for private blockchain to track all the parts that will be used to build their aircraft carriers, their all of their surface ships, the planes, and so forth, to make it more cost effective, less paper, less personnel to hire to track all of this, and it can be um, less costly also. Any other comments on this one?
Yeah, this is how the U.S. military is trying to safeguard itself from Chinese espionage. There was a sailor in the U.S. Navy who was arrested, I believe, a year or so ago for spying on U.S. military, spying on U.S. Navy for the Chinese. He was actually arrested by
Ooh.
military police. So I think he had captured all of the parts for like Raytheon and stuff like that. Some of the two-factor authentication that was being used in the military, or used on naval warships, for commanding fire and control systems. So this is important for them because they obviously they're the leader of the pack in terms of military technology, but at the same time, you can, if anybody could duplicate your parts in your supply chain, and you can have supply chain espionage, then you're screwed. So that's where the blockchain comes in.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
All right. You have any comments on this one on the complex?
No, actually, I was really just listening to what Mike's analysis was on that. Like I said, it makes sense. I don't really have anything to add to it.
Okay. Yeah, but like I said, this can be more effective because now they know. Now the Navy will know where the parts are being, who's been handling them, and so forth and so forth. So it just adds another layer of protection. It's not perfect, but just adds another layer of protection. All right, next article on the docket comes from Reuters.com. Title: Walmart, Sam's Club to put food products on blockchain. Written September 24th. Walmart, or trading symbol WMT, and its unit Sam's Club said on Monday leafy green suppliers will be asked to implement real-time farm-to-store tracking using blockchain technology by next September as a retail as a retailer tackles food safety incidents. Walmart is among several other retailers such as Nestle trying to tap blockchain, a shared record of data kept by a network of computers to track food supply chain and improve safety. Last year, Nestle, Unilever, Tyson Foods, and other large food and retail companies joined IBM's blockchain technology project. Walmart said on Monday that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, has consulted with the company to improve traceability of food products to help public officials investigate and find the source of foodborne disease outbreaks. The United States has seen several disease outbreaks in the past few years related to food products. At least 5 people died and dozens were taken ill earlier this year due to an outbreak of E. coli linked to romaine lettuce, the CDC said here in June. In 2016, Walmart collaborated with IBM and Tsinghua University to track food product movements using blockchain technology in China. All right. Title again, Walmart, Sam's Club to put food products on blockchain. This is a step in the right direction, in my opinion, because with all of these outbreaks, like the article mentioned, E. coli and
Mm-hmm.
other outbreaks, they can trace the origin of the contaminant, the food that's contaminated, instead of taking everything off the shelves. They can say
Mm-hmm.
all the kale that came from this area of the country, this is contaminated. So these stores need, so they can send out notices to stores to take X amount of this kale off the shelves. And also, again, it makes everything more efficient. You can tell where your food is coming from if you support something, and so forth.
Mhm. The other thing too, man, that I noticed with all of this here is that, you know, IBM, gosh, they seem to be positioning themselves as an industrial scale blockchain solution provider. They
Yeah.
from what I know, it's like a lot of they have like a lot of big time partners that are working with them on their blockchain applications. So, wow, that's what kind of stood out to me. I was like, geez, like IBM is, I don't know, they're going to be prominent here in the not so distant future. I don't know, maybe to pay attention to their stock prices a little bit.
Mm.
Well, IBM has always been prominent in terms of lines of business. I mean, that's their whole name, International Business
Right,
Machines. So
right.
how they got started in the industry in terms of information technology was back in the 1930s, just working on that type of stuff. And then keep in mind that they were the first ones to invent the ATM, the automatic teller machine. So they're always thinking one step ahead, if not two steps ahead, of how to
Right.
simplify lines of business. Um, yeah, in reference to this article is that the mad, the mad cow disease outbreak that happened a few years ago, um, that would have been prevented, had the meat been put on, on a blockchain and knew that it was bad. They can kind of stop the supply before it even entered the country, before it even
Mhm.
hit the store shelves. So that type of stuff is really does matter, and it's a really efficient way of actually supply chain management.
It is. It is very efficient. Mm. All right. Excuse me. Let's go on to our next topic on the docket tonight. This one comes from space.com. NASA's new planet hunting telescope spots its second possible world already. Written by Megan Bartels from space.com on September 21st. Article. Scientists point over data from NASA's newest planet hunting telescope have announced that they've spotted a second possible planet, just 3 days after many of the same team members announced their first find. The two potential planets are the beginning of a discovery bonanza that scientists have calculated may hit 10,000 worlds within just 2 years. Both come from the first month of observation time from the instrument called the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, or TESS, which changes position every month to better survey the sky. A second NASA test planet has been discovered. Scientists with the mission announced on Twitter Thursday. Slightly bigger than Earth, this planet orbits LHS 3844, and, a M dwarf star 49 light years away every 11 hours. That's pretty fast. This find is being reviewed by other scientists, and we're looking forward to studying this cool hot Earth. Hot Earth, okay. Test works by starting at a field of stars to monitor their brightness. If those stars host planets that light up in the sky the right way to slip between the telescope and a star, the instrument registers a slight dip in brightness as the planet blocks the star. By watching several of these events, called transits, scientists can calculate the size of the planet and the length of its year. The newly spotted planet candidate is orbiting a star called LHS 3844 a small faint star called a red dwarf that makes the New World one of the closest known exoplanets to Earth, as LHS 3844 is 49 light years away, the scientists reported in a new study. On this strange world, which is about a third again as large as Earth, a year just lasts 11 hours. That's pretty fast. The short, the short, that short year means the planet is uncomfortably close to its star, so it's likely experiencing too much radiation and solar flares for the planet to be habitable. The author wrote. But even if we wonder, but even if we wouldn't want to live there, it would it would sure be nice to know more about it. The research team also used ground-based telescopes to study the star system as a way to verify that the signal that we're picking up wasn't just a fluke. That also gave them a sense of the planet's surface temperature, almost 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit or 531 degrees Celsius. Because of the exoplanet Canada's high temperature and proximity to its star, scientists are particularly curious whether the planet can cling to an atmosphere so close to its star. If it does have an atmosphere, that would also suggest the planet formed farther away and then crept up to its star after that star aged out of its early tantrums and quieted down as stars do. The authors wrote, the star's proximity to Earth means the observations necessary to study its atmosphere may very well be possible, they added. Tess moved on to its next patch of the sky in late August, and that survey should finish up late this month. Once the data comes back to Earth, it too will spur a string of tentative planet identifications as the telescope continues to accomplish the job it was designed to complete. The new planet candidate, which will now be considered and studied by other scientists to see whether it is truly a planet, is described in a paper posted September 19th, to the preprint server arxiv.org and submitted to the Astrophysical Journal letters. Now, in my humbleness, I will not question these guys why they are saying, I think they say it's a habitable planet. It's pretty close. A year is 11 hours, and a year on Earth is 365.5 days. It's pretty fast. To give whoever's listening to this an idea how they found this planet, when you have a star in the sky and you have a telescope looking at the star in the sky, and the light coming from the star or sun, let's say sun, dips or dims every now and then, that means there's planets circling the sun. Because when you're looking at something from a very far distance, the the two things look like the same size. So when something passes in front of it, between the sun and what you're using to look at it, it's going to block the light. That means it's dimming, or the light is dipping. That means a planet is circling the star.
Yeah, it's
So
like
that's how.
maybe like kind of like viewing an eclipse from far away.
Right.
Mm.
So that's how they're finding these planets to close to these stars, and they're using, what are they using? They're using infrared, different colors of different colors. Oh my God, I took this class. Different rays, different infrared rays to figure out what the planet is, made of or whatnot. And they can tell, it's pretty obvious. If this planet is circling the star pretty fast, that means it's very close to the star. Just like if you're very far from something, it's going to take you time to circle it. So that's one of the ways they're using how they're finding these planets.
Hmm. Interesting. I mean, I haven't.
I found it
I haven't.
interesting.
Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I found it interesting that they use ground-based telescopes. Minot has his favorite telescope from Celestron. Uh,
Yes.
that they have a new one coming out too. That's able to see all these planets if you use a DSLR camera. the whole setup will cost you about maybe 15 grand, but that's your startup space state, startup space observatory in your own house, in your own backyard.
And patch it into Stellarium. And you're rocking and rolling.
Yeah. I I'm interested. I like space. I space. What more can you say? This thing is 49 light years away. I'm not going to curse here. That's a hell of a long way away. So by the time if we want to go there to explore this thing, it's going to be gone because the sun is already a dwarf. Excuse me, which means it's in this. It's an older sun. That's how far away these places are. We mentioned, I think a few weeks ago, how the closest black hole was 50 something thousand light years away. This space is huge, extremely. I think people can really wrap their mind around how large big space is. And I'm saying it to say these near Earth asteroids, this asteroid belt. I'm a firm believer that the first trillionaire. I understand that. I forgot the brother name. He said the first trillionaire will be a person that's mining asteroids. Me personally, I believe the first trillionaire will be somebody from cryptocurrency, but the first multi-trillionaire will be a person that's mining these asteroids. So it's so much money to be made out there. So many places to go to discover, to get away from people you don't want to be around. So yeah.
Well, it could be a combination of both, right? So you say cryptocurrency, but they say asteroid mining, right? So if you
Mm.
combine a rare earth mineral on the asteroid with a cryptocurrency, you're going to bankrupt the whole entire globe because everybody has to come to you and they can't afford it.
That's a lot of coins.
Right. For whatever the cryptocurrency may be, right? It is definitely not going to be Bitcoin. Nobody's going to use Bitcoin if they can create their own coin for a rare earth mineral.
And if you take that and then you go and you settle your own planet and you mine that, and then okay, let me shut up.
No, 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 no,
Well,
no, no, no.
there's actually discussions. There's actually discussions about who's going to be the first one to get to Titan, because Titan is supposed to be
Right.
a livable place. So the Japanese have their own vehicle. Tesla says they have not Tesla. SpaceX says they have their own vehicle. And then you factor in NASA actually has satellites that have already traveled there, so they know the time and the distance and the navigation path. The European
Right.
Space Agency, then you factor in Russia. There's a lot. It's going to be a crowded space in the whole entire
Yep.
the space race. It's going to be
Yep.
very crowded.
So I think you can even throw Virgin Galactic in there.
Yeah, Sir Richard Branson.
Yep.
Yeah, and the first thing they're going to mine is the moon. There's potential water there, so that's the first thing they're going to mine. Then they're going to branch out to the these asteroids near Earth, and then they're going to branch out to Mars slash the asteroid belt, since the asteroid belt is between Mars and what's that, Jupiter. So, but it's interesting. I know if I have a company that's, I really don't want to say but if I have a company that's mining asteroids, I'm telling you right now, you can't tell me nothing. You cannot tell me anything. Hey, you can't tell me about nothing. You can't tell me about nothing. This asteroid mining. You can't tell me nothing about on Earth. You can't tell me nothing. I'm not listening. I'm out here mining asteroids for iron.
When you say out here, like literally out
Yeah,
here.
right. I'm out here mining asteroids with my robots and my AI. I'm sorry, you can't tell me nothing. I'm sorry.
That's you and Swiss Beats.
Yes, yes. I'm sorry, man.
Well,
Hey, I'm Lionel's angel investor.
Hey, I mean, it's like a certain level. It's like, wow, we've made to space, and now we're doing this. People gonna become full of themselves out the wild. It's like, wow, I'm out here at Titan, man. I'm no,
you might have to
I'm
drop a mixtape. Start at
right.
the bottom.
Hey, wait a minute. A galactic mixtape that can only be heard within the planets of the Milky Way. Hey, man.
Right. That's your 16 bars.
Right. 16 bars on 9 planets, baby. Let's
Don't forget your love.
let me share the screen. That's amazing. Mining asteroids. The lucky bastard that get one that's full of silver. My God. Okay. Well, catch one is full of silver. I'm trying to get. All right. Our next article comes from electric.co. Title: Tesla's massive power pack battery in Australia cost 66 million and already made up to 17 million. Written by Fred Lambert on September 24th. Article: We have already seen several pieces of evidence that Tesla's massive power pack battery project in Australia is quite financially successful. But now we get all the numbers as Neoene, Tesla's partner in the project, files for IPO. The battery giant cost 66 million and is reportedly already made up to 17 million during the first 6 months of operation, which really means about 6 months. Tesla's 100 megawatt or 129 megawatt an hour, I think that's how you pronounce it, power pack project in South Australia provide the same grid services as peaker plants, but cheaper, quicker, and with zero emissions through its battery system. It is so effective that it reportedly should have made around 1 million in just a few days in January. But Tesla later complained that they are not being paid properly because the system doesn't account for how fast Tesla's power packs start discharging their power into the grid. The system is basically a victim of its own efficiency, wow, which the Australian energy market operator confirmed is much more rapid, accurate, and valuable than a conventional steam turbine in a report published earlier this year. Overall, it is estimated that Tesla's giant battery in Australia reduced the grid service cost by 90%. The energy storage capacity is managed by Neoene, which operates the adjacent wind farm. Last week, Neoene filed for IPO on the Paris financial market, and in its registration documents, the company revealed new financial details about the big battery. The French energy company revealed that the entire system cost 56 million euros or $66 million. While it's interesting to finally have the full cost of the giant power pack system, it's even more interesting to get an idea of the return on investment or ROI, as NeoEn confirmed the revenue generated by the system so far. The French company disclosed that they made 8.1 million euros or $9.5 million for the grid services and energy sales and 6.7 million euros or $7.9 million for storing and selling electricity from the Hornsdale wind farm. It's unclear now. It's unclear how NeoEn is attributing the value of the stored electricity from its wind farm, since it is accounting the two assets as a whole in terms of revenue. But it would mean the battery system generated between 10 million and 17 million during roughly its first 6 months of operation, and it is on pace to over 20 million in revenue during the first year. The costs of operation are not made clear in the filings, but we will assume that they are fairly low, which would make the return on investment extraordinary quick or for the massive project. Tesla recently released new images of the completed system and a time lapse of its construction. NeoEn is trying to raise 450 million euros with its IPO in order to accelerate its renewable energy deployment. The company currently has a capacity of 2 gigawatts and wants to be a 5 gigawatt by the end of 2021. All right. Complex, I believe I can feel it that you have a comment on this.
Uh, I did, but I lost it.
Let me read the article again.
No.
All
No,
right.
go ahead.
Do we
But
need
I
to
did
fill up
want to
the battery?
acknowledge brother Jack. What?
Do we need to fill up the battery?
That's a good one.
Yeah, y'all some
What's going
fools,
on, brother
man.
Jack?
bro.
Y'all some fools.
How you
What's
doing,
going
Jack? How
on,
you doing,
brother? But
Jack?
you're a fool for
Hey,
that.
stop by say.
Yo,
Not good, man. Yo, but
what's good, bro, Jack?
yeah, but back to the to the topic. So I'm asking a question. When it comes to this battery pack, um, is your first time hearing about this, or you guys been heard about this already?
No, we talked about this. We've talked about this before. There's when they were talking about the okay, so steam turbine. There's massive losses in efficiency, right? There's a
All
whole
right.
lot of energy, give off. There's energy loss via heat, thermal reduction. There's all different types of energy losses in the production of energy, right? So it results in basically a lot of mass losses. What actually ends up on the market, based on production versus what's spent out, there is a lot of waste in terms of energy. With battery production, what they're talking about with regards to Tesla plants, it's energy capture and storage. Very little waste. Very little waste.
I have a question. Okay, so they're
Yep.
storing energy. Does the energy dissipate over time if you don't use it within a certain amount of period, or what?
Well, what they do is, what it does is it dumps onto the grid when the sun goes down, right? So when the sun is up, there's a constant flow of energy, right? Already on the grid. There's already usage and energy production going on. Now, when the sun goes down, what's in storage dumps onto the grid, right? So that there's always a steady line of energy, of energy that's accessible, right?
Okay.
That's how battery storage, or energy production vis-a-vis solar, wind, and then that energy is then captured and stored, and it can be done so in a way where it can be metered, right? It can be done. There's multiple ways. It's more malleable. You can do more with it.
So the batteries doesn't hold energy for a very long time. It just it immediately dumps when nighttime comes.
Yeah. So like as you get into dusk, right? So the energy capture from the solar panels, the amount of energy starts to decrease. Now, as that starts to decrease, right, energy usage is going to start going up because more people are going to be using lights, city lights are going to be going on, all that type of stuff. So that's when the energy stored in the batteries then comes online, right? And so it makes up for any energy loss due to the sun going down and energy production because consumption goes up at night. So then from the batteries, it just goes on to the grid, and so it keeps it running at say like 87 to 92 or something like that, right? Or more as if needed. But it has the ability to just keep everything steady, and the capturing and the storage of it is extremely efficient as well. So it's kind of like a plus two positive, right? In terms of what it is that it does in terms of making the grid more stable.
Any other questions?
No, that's interesting. So what's the lifetime like on this? Like, what's the longevity? Like, it lasts what, 20 years, or like how many
You
years can
replace
it last?
batteries pretty. You replace batteries about every decade or so. I think on
Okay.
things like a Prius, that's like 7 years, right? Because of the mileage, because of the regen technology. When you're talking about something of this capacity, I'm pretty sure it's got to be anywhere between 5 to 10 years. New battery technology comes out pretty frequently, so you can replace those batteries, just as soon as the new technology rolls off the shelf.
But Mike, the BMS is the BMS, the battery management systems, right? That Tesla's running are so super sophisticated that they can monitor it to the cell. So what they're going to do is they do bank maintenance, right? They just do rotating bank maintenance. So they'll do a lockout, tag out on say like one bank, and they go all the cells. So all the bad ones, pull them, put new ones in, right? So even on the cellular level, within the battery management system, will isolate all of the bad cells that need to be done, and they just do their maintenance and do the lockout tagouts and swap them out. They keep everything running at efficiency. At efficiency. That's how they're able to keep it at a clip that they keep it at.
Yeah, that makes sense because I'm just thinking about it. Like these cells, it's gonna be. I think about maybe the beginning is fine, but I think around the last like 2 to 3 years of it, it's gonna be a lot of maintenance on the batteries. It's checking in as far as diagnostic and whatnot. But it sounds very efficient. It's clean energy, But it just I know there was an issue just with batteries as far as I know we discussed it a few weeks ago as far as creating more batteries is an issue. So maybe like are these batteries like hemp based or is it or there's more or just some different type of material?
It's all lithium polymer.
Okay.
I mean, all of the other various types of battery chemistries haven't been developed for these types of applications, like lead acid, which is typically, and I'm trying to think of some of the other chemistries that they use for like deep storage applications. And there's a ton of different chemistries, but lithium is it's like light and the easiest to work. Right, it's a little more volatile, flexible. You can do a lot more with it. But with solid state battery technology, you're starting to see now there's a whole bunch of different types of chemistries that you can use: hemp, sodium, and conducive materials like glass and things like that too. So it's really going to come down to bringing the technology to the market and application, and that's ultimately what's going to win out.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Excuse me. Let's get to our next article topic on the docket today. It's moving right along, nice and smoothly. This one comes from Time.com. Title: Japan space rovers landed on an asteroid to collect data on solar system. Written by Mary Yamaguchi on September 23rd. A Japanese spacecraft released two small rovers on an asteroid on Friday in a mission that could provide clues to the origin of the solar system. The Japan Space Exploration Agency said the two Minerva 2 and Minerva 1 rovers were lowered from the unmanned spacecraft Hayabusa 2 to the asteroid Ryugu. The spacecraft arrived near the asteroid about 280 million kilometers or 170 million miles from Earth in June. JAXA said confirmation of the robot's safe touchdown has to wait until it receives data from them on Saturday. Hayabusa 2 approached as close as 55 meters or 180 feet to the asteroid to lower the rover, waited for a minute, and then rose back to its waiting position about 20 kilometers or 12 miles above the surface. JAXA said the release went successful. The solar-powered rover's voltage plunged as night fell on Ryugu, a sign that they are on the asteroid, said Hayabusa project team spokesman Takashi Kabuta. We are very hopeful, project manager Yuchi Tsuda said. I'm excited about seeing the pictures. I want to see the scenery of space seen from Ryugu's surface. The two rovers, each about the size of a cookie can, are cool. Are are to capture images of the asteroid and measure surface temperatures before a larger rover and a lander are released later. The rover's move was hopping up to 15 meters or 50 feet at a time because the extremely weak gravity on the asteroid makes rolling difficult. They can continue jumping as long as their solar panels and power last, Jackson said. Friday's release bolstered the project members' confidence ahead of more difficult maneuvers in the future, Tsuda said. Hayabusa 2 is scheduled to attempt three brief touch and go landings on the asteroid to collect samples in hope of providing clues to the origin of the solar system and life on Earth. Since it arrived at Ryugu, scientists have been looking for suitable landing sites on the uneven surface, and its first attempt is expected in October. The spacecraft is set to release a German French lander called Mascot, carrying four observation devices in early October, and a bigger rover called Minerva 2 next year. Hayabusa 2, launched in December 2014, is due to return to Earth in late 2020. All right, title again: Japan space rovers landed on an asteroid to collect data on solar system. All right, Jack, you requested this to be put on the docket tonight. What about this article stood out to you?
I think what stood out to me was just the engineering feat that Japan achieved this, man. I guess the asteroid was 200 miles away. 200 was I mean how far was he in 200 million miles away from Earth, right? And it
Yes.
was moving and it landed perfectly. Like that's remarkable, you know. So it was just something that really just caught my eye, and I was just very interesting. Not out seeing that they got this accomplished is like what else? What else could be next? You know.
But
So
we were literally just talking about that. I
yeah,
want because I would imagine what kind of data it's going to collect on an asteroid.
yeah, yeah. And I was talking to other people about it today, and it's like, um, there's so many asteroids out there. Like you can claim your stake, man. Like you got the data from they're gonna release the data on how they did it, right? You have the you have the information and data how to figure it out. We can all start staking our claim as far as claim our own asteroids, right? You can get an asteroid the size of Texas or California. You have an unlimited amount of resources right there. So it just shows
There's
me that
billions of them.
yeah, right. And like the possibilities are endless. This is why I love so much about technology because it helps you to open your mind up to see like anything is possible. So that's what I liked about it.
Any other comments on this one?
Well,
Reynold Cherry has mentioned it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
no, I was just gonna say that we discussed maybe back in August that Luxembourg. This might have been at the beginning of September, but Luxembourg in Europe actually is good. Actually, as a nation state, has already moved forward in terms of asteroid mining. I think like 2% of their GDP comes from asteroid exploration or space exploration for as a utility, as a utility
Yeah, I
service.
think that
So
was
basically, they're go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, Reynold Cherry had mentioned here that the ESA, or the European Space Agency, did that also.
Oh yeah, but this is just Luxembourg itself, right? So they're operating as a in the same way that California thrives off of Hollywood. They're thriving off of space
Hmm.
exploration and asteroid mining. So that's their their go-to skill set right now, and what they're investing into, because they see a lot of profit coming from that.
Hmm.
But I thought you said I thought Luxembourg did it, but they landed it on it, but it crashed once it landed.
No,
So
that was
they
the
didn't.
ESA. That was the ESA with the
That
fillet.
crashed, right?
Fillet.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
the
okay,
fillet. I believe it was a rover that crashed.
Okay.
okay, okay. That was the ESA. All right.
All right. Let's go as
Well,
far.
well,
Oh,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead. Go ahead. Go
real
ahead.
quick
Go
on
ahead.
Mike. So do you, Mike? Quick question. Like, what do you see the opportunities as for? I know again we can stick our claim, but um, what do you think is a simple way just for people out there just to think about, to ponder on, is just to create our own, you know, black owned, you know, um, rover to go to other asteroids? Like, what do you think? Like, how feasible is that? Like, how do we make that happen? I know you said that um, I guess you align yourself with every different teams, obviously, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
a space team, kind of like the lift off as far as a rocket, and you have a team that focus on just reaching the asteroid. So, like, how feasible is this for us, are the people to do that?
That sort of endeavor would actually cost you a few $1,000,000 just off the rip, right? So you have the human power, but you don't have the actual capital. So right now, that the main focus would be to just raise capital. I think we covered an article a few weeks back, Lino and myself, talking about a startup in China actually raised $44 million for their space program,
Yep.
for space exploration. So it can be done. It's just a matter of how do you crowdfund something like that, for Black people, right? I think if every Black, there's let's say right now there's 20 million Black men that are freely walking the streets around the United States. If every Black man gave up $5 or $10, you can actually fund your own entire space program. So this is actually doable. And then you have to factor in, do you want to take commercial off the shelf products? Things such as, I think in this article they talked about a rover that basically tumbles around. That's actually a very simplistic sort of
Mhm.
toy, right? There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
toys that you go to Amazon or Alibaba or whatever it is online and order a toy that just bumbles around. Even something as simple as a ball, like a stability ball, an exercise ball, can actually bounce off of in space because there's no gravity. Can
Uh-huh.
actually bounce
Mm-hmm.
and be used with a transponder inside of it just to tell what the the gravitational pull is, um, what the temperature is on the surface, things like that.
Yeah.
You start with just a little bit of reconnaissance, and then you can go in deeper, and then you can keep raising funds for that for the next operations.
Yeah. I would say, um, I would say so. Like, what I've noticed from, like, say, like other space endeavors, right? It's not always just like like one entity. What it'll be a project, right, that has like different, like you said, teams. Like, as soon as you said teams, I was like, all right, you got it, because these are like all different entities that have a different specialization, right? So it might be one firm out in Mojave, right, and they deal strictly with like engines, right, engine design and propulsion, right. Then you have another company over here that has that deals with like rocket design, right, for different types of applications, right. And then you have this company over here that does all of the software, onboard software, and all that type of stuff. And then you have this company over here that's going to be doing all of like the logistics and flight and all of the flight analysis and all that. And all of these are all people that have like different specializations, and they all have a stake in the project, right? So whatever the end goal is, there's going to be some sort of stakehold in all of them achieving this one goal. And so that's kind of how you can, I can look at it feasibly, right? And say like, okay, how could something like this be done with a group of brothers or whatever that wanted to do something like this? Okay, well, you have to kind of split it all up, right? Or we all have different firms with different specializations. I mean, ideally, you're talking about space exploration, right? So these are going to be already people who already have some sort of working knowledge some sort of specialization, skill set, business, engineering firm, something, right? Or they have the ability, like Mike said, to raise capital. I think maybe two of these hangouts ago or something. We covered a company called God, I can't remember the name, but they 3D print rockets.
Oh yeah, the metal
Right.
metal 3D
Like,
print. Yeah.
yeah, they 3D print rockets, right? They do everything in house, engines, rockets. Like they go from purchase to complete rocket. I forgot in like it's like literally not that much time at all.
Couple months.
Couple months, right? And you have a turnkey rocket ready to go, right? So in this instance, you're just talking about raising capital. And they do all the testing facilities and all that. So maybe you outsource again part of it, right? Because your goal, whether your goal is to actually be in the damn rocket or build the rocket and send it up, or your end game is to actually acquire what the probe is going to go and look for on the asteroid, then maybe it's like, okay, you turn to someone else to take care of that to get you onto the asteroid. Right. So there's a number of you kind of have to throw it out on the table and say, OK, what's the most cost effective straight line scenario that's going to give us the best chance for success? I mean, it has to kind of be approached from a real analytical standpoint. So it takes some time, but it can be done. People do it all the damn time. I mean, startups happen and they make stuff and they get bought out or they go out or. And then the dudes turn around and go somewhere else, start up another one, make some other project. Dude, it happens all the time. We don't have like a we don't have like a we have a startup mentality, but for the wrong things. Let's just put it like that. If we had it for the right things, we'd be doing this.
Right, and you have to keep in mind that the amount of jobs that will be created just from a space startup is tremendous. I mean, we talked about the blockchain last week, and how one blockchain can actually create 16 jobs. I believe Lionel had referred to this.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start talking about space exploration, you're talking about manufacturing, you're talking logistics, you're talking supply chain, you're talking data science, code writing, project management. I can name almost 20 other positions that just comes right out of a space startup.
It's a ton.
Just out of the space startup alone. And these are high-paying jobs. These are not like these are high-paying opportunities, I should say, not jobs, but high-paying opportunities that come out of this. And this is the type of stuff that creates this middle class that Black people are so desiring to get into. And instead of calling 2/3 of the community, well, let me not get into that, but just the sheer numbers would actually create hundreds of jobs in one facility. There's a lot of vacant property that you see out in Detroit and these other places like Indiana that have factories that have shut down from GM and Ford and Chrysler. That could be repurposed and retooled just for your operation.
And we're only and we're talking about like rockets and things like that, but there's on previous hangouts that we've talked about also. I mean, there's other things with regards to space exploration, right? Outside of just the actual going up and all that, but like what Mike was talking about in the software development sector, all of that, and man, yeah, it's like if the interest, like if you go to SpaceX website, go to their career section, go look at how many jobs are available. I'll give you an indicator. Opportunities. I'm sorry, Mike.
Let's look at that right now. Then. SpaceX. Elon Musk. And SpaceX presents.
Not even just SpaceX too. You can look at NASA's careers page and see how many positions that they're desiring to fill that they just cannot fill because there's just not enough talent available.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you have to be a U.S. citizen to actually work for them because they're a government-run agency.
And the contracts, right? Government contracts.
No, the actual roles, the
Oh,
actual
the
roles
actual.
that work with the
Gotcha.
for
Gotcha.
NASA. Those are
Yeah.
direct roles.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So on SpaceX careers, they have it in categorization: avionics, build and flight reliability, corporate operations, information technology and security, launch, manufacturing and production, materials engineering, mission management and space operations, non-destructive evaluation, propulsion, software development, supply chain management, test operations, vehicle operations. Let's look in the info, the
yeah,
technology.
those are departments for multiple roles.
Okay.
So IT department has 7 to 8 roles available.
Okay. Okay. It's pretty cool. All right. Let's get to our next article on the docket, people. This is a short video from CGTN.com. Title: 558 million year old fossil unearthed excuse me, in Russia. It's a pretty short video, about 30 seconds long, saying there was a fossil unearthed in Russia on September 19th that gives us the closest record of dinosaurs. The fossil, since they thought it was a plant, but since it contained cholesterol, they say it was an animal. It grew to 1.4 million meters long, and it looks like a cross between a leaf and a thumbprint. Pretty
It
old.
also apparently had a bad diet.
Oh, cholesterol. The cholesterol. High cholesterol. Yeah, that's probably why I died.
Probably. I wonder if there was Harold's Chicken back then.
Right by the shore. Yeah.
Harold's phytoplasm or something.
Well, the reason why I sent this video is because 558 million years, right? That's a long time.
That's a long time. That's a long time.
That's a long time. I mean, we only know about dinosaurs being around maybe 10 or 20 million years ago, but this is saying 558 million. Like, how old is the galaxy, in terms of age? We don't even know at this point. I mean, we're still scratching the surface on space research and actual life research on where life really started. I mean, a lot of people, like to talk about, life on other planets. There has to be life on other planets if you're seeing this type of stuff pop up now. 558 million years old. That means there must have been something on Mars. Obviously, there had to be other planets. There was an article recently about the new telescope finding another planet, a Earth-like planet. I mean, what's to say that planet didn't already have life before this one had? Like, we're not even digging this. We're not even digging deep enough to figure out what's really going on.
Just the sheer amount of stars with Earth-like planets that, when I say Earth-like planets, I mean planets that habitate the Goldilocks zone. That alone, the whole numbers game, just say, okay, it has to be something. Or who's to say they haven't found anything?
Well, I was going to say the other thing too, man, is like, time is, we kind of view it linear because our lifespans are so short, right? So it's kind of hard for our minds to kind of like wrap around like that expanse of time, because our amount of time here is so damn short, right? And even within our short amount of time, a whole lot goes on. You know what I mean? So it really is kind of hard to like wrap your mind around that like, dude, like 550 some odd million years ago, something had cholesterol.
Amazing. Any other comments? Oh, go ahead.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around that too. It's just, I don't know what to think, man. It's like 500 million. That's half a billion years ago. There was life on Earth. It was like half a billion years ago. That debunks so many theories, on people how people think life was started. So
Well, you
I'm
know
not gonna
what,
go
bro?
there.
That's an interesting angle you take, bro, Jack. Let me ask you guys, like, so do you think that maybe relaying this type of information, because typically when this type of information is relayed, it's been known for a while, right? So do you guys think that maybe the revelation of something like this is actually maybe sort of like uncovering maybe what is actually true and that has been known by our government institutions, right? That things have been going on here for far longer than what has largely been taught and passed off to the general population.
I don't know. It could be because there's too much evidence out there, so that's a possibility.
Any other comments? Excuse me. All right. So the last topic on the docket for tonight, and we're gonna open it up to open mic. All right. This is a longer video, about an hour long. This one comes from CGTN. Uh, it was a live video taping. Delve into the future of AI in China. I looked at a few minutes of this video. I will admit, in the first few moments of the video, they talk about. Go back to it. This was AI based conference. Vending machines. Um, I scratched my head on that one. Vending machine. How AI can help with how AI and vending machines. What I'm trying to say. AI and vending machines can go hand in hand. Um, I'm just going to point out a few things that they went over on the in the what was okay. What's the beginning of this? I apologize. Okay, here we go. These little robots, they remind me of these robots remind me of the discontinued robot from Hyundai, but the their unison and dancing is pretty. It's pretty cool. I don't know, some people it could be a little awkward, or not awkward, but eerie. But I think, me personally, I think it was pretty cool. They also touched on um, drones. Trying to find the points in which, but yeah,
You said the Honda. Is that what's it called? Aibo, the Honda robot.
yeah, they discontinued.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they remind me of it. They also touched on VR, virtual reality, augmented AR, VR, AR. Um, yeah,
What's AR?
augmented reality.
Oh, okay.
Just see the same thing, but visuals are put in front just to make you think something's there.
It's like a visual. Yeah, it's like a visual overlay. So
Yeah,
you could be, yeah, you could be like in a hood ass apartment, but you throw your AR unit on, and you look like you're like in an uptown Manhattan apartment.
hmm
Yeah, some of this AI is going a whole nother level. I saw some of the Chinese AI, and a guy was having a full conversation with a robot, and it was like answering back, answering his questions, and it's like it was just. I think they're like pretty much gotten to maybe 20% of the capabilities of it. I think by the time it gets to 100% of it, like it's gonna be like that show Star Trek where you had I think his name was Android. I think they got what's his
Um,
name?
oh my God.
You know what I'm
Uh,
talking about? Yeah, like his
yeah,
skin
the
look kind of
go.
funny.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
Yeah, but
That
like it's gonna be like that where you're gonna have those type of robots working next to you, having conversations with you. It's gonna be like that. I think within the next, I give it like 50 to 100 years.
not even that long.
Think so sooner than that?
Yeah, the way technology is advancing, this is the speed is advancing. We can see it sooner.
I always say, man, if you want like one of the most realistic views of what like this AI humanoid integration is going to look like, get into the Ghost in the Shell animation series. Or get into that because you really can't tell who's human and who's not. or you can kind of tell because parts of their body, like they'll have like a robotic eye, but they're totally human, or they might be 50% human, or they may be 75% robot. You know, it's like one of the most realistic representations of what like the not so distant future would look like with regards to our interactions with AI. And then if you want like a near, and then there was another movie, if like a near future, if you want a near future view of AI integration, that movie Frank and Robot. I mentioned it before, but check out that movie, man. It's a trip. It like takes place in like 2026 or something like that. So everything looks like kind of like how it looks now, but like AI is like all present.
You got any comments on this, Mike?
Oh, go ahead.
You got any comments on this, Mike?
Oh yeah. One of the biggest features in this video was the mind mapping. The ability to put a headset on and control things with your mind at the end. I thought that was impressive, highly impressive. It's in the early stages. I would say it's probably in the alpha stages. Yeah, this right here. The ability to control those cars. The more you concentrate, the faster the cars go.
Oh shit!
Man. Oh man, that sounds like
now, Matt. Now, let me give you guys just a hypothetical scenario here, right? So somebody is able to hack their AR unit, right, in such a way where they're able to pipe into, say, like a self-driving car network and do what Mike just said. Move them shits right into people and shit. Move them all over the place. Just with their mind. That'd be crazy, right?
Wait, say it one more time.
So, what Mike was saying, like a lot of these AR units now, so they have like this thing on now where you can actually like move the objects in there with your mind. So what I'm saying is like what if you had that, but it's an AR unit, and you were able to tap that with an AR overlay of your 3D environment, cars included, right? And some of these cars are self-driving cars. And so you have some sort of hackware, dude, that gets into those automated self-driving car networks. And with the capability that Mike was just talking about, you just move the cars.
No, that's not going to work.
That's not going to work?
That's not going to work. No. The reason, no, I'm saying that to crap on your idea, but the reason why this wouldn't work is because.
Well, it's not an idea. I don't want to do it.
No. I'm saying in that scenario, right? So in that scenario, one, your ECUs are locked out on your car, right? So that's one, and two, the radars on the car or the lidars on the car would actually prevent you from hitting the next thing in front of you, right? So if you have a network of vehicles that are actually all communicating with each other on a vehicle-to-vehicle communications platform, that's least likely to happen. But there's a whole lot of security measures that are already taken in place in terms of IoT.
I was going to say, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, where you say how it's locked out because, like, so for example, a lot of the ECU function would be on its own IoT, for example, everything is in its own sort of ecosystem, and then only the communicator going to communicate.
What the hell are these two?
Right, if they're on a block.
Oh, go ahead.
They're using those headsets that we were talking about, the mind reading,
the mind
mapping. I mean.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I mean, but you see what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, in theory, that would be a plausible scenario, but in reality, the whole entire.
But in reality, you're saying, yeah.
An autonomous car network, that's already been thought out, right? So they put it. If you're talking about using blockchain to actually manage each and every vehicle, and then you're using a vehicle-to-vehicle proprietary network connection that's wireless, where cars communicate with each other. And then you factor in the safety mechanisms in place using LiDAR so that they don't run into each other. That's kind of nullifies that whole entire idea.
I mean, so in a blockchain environment, just generally speaking, I mean, things are going to be just far more harder to hack. Is that sort of like maybe like kind of like a takeaway from this?
No, there will be a proof of work and proof of identity to everything.
Yeah.
So if you're not the owner or the administrator, you're not getting in.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question: what is the military capabilities of this type of technology? Because if they're able to mind map, right, like can they kind of create AI technology to like the harder you think, the harder you can make you run faster or jump higher, like create like a universal soldier with this type of um like let's say like you
Well,
can
in the
create like a
military,
soldier
on
with
a
it.
military,
Huh?
say in a military application, now this could be applicable. Go ahead, Mike.
Mm.
No, I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted to hear what Jack was question was.
No, I'm just saying like um like how can they translate? How can they push that into the military field as far as like military science, as far as enhanced soldiers or whatnot, like or you know um they can do new type of warfare where like they don't have to put soldiers on the ground. It can be just robots fighting each other, certain things like that. Like I'm trying to think, like trying to figure out because what's going on in my mind
Well,
right now is
the ability to put on an exoskeleton suit and actually lift up,
Yeah.
thousands of pebbles, through electromagnetic capabilities from that suit, and then throw it using using the mind reader, just picking up the environment itself and just throwing it at the opposition, at your enemy. The ability to pick up an abandoned vehicle and just throw it on the enemy because you had the ability, the willpower to think of it. That's the sort of
Yep.
capability that would come from something like that.
Well, see, and that's kind of where I was maybe kind of going. But I see why you're saying it wouldn't work. But like in a military application, what I can speak to, absolutely. That's where it's like, yeah, you go from like some sort of set you're wearing on your head, and like Mike said, you see a ball, pick that shit and just throw it. I don't know, 200 feet or something.
Any now I know we got some more comments on this AI, the AI in the future.
What's
Than
what's
throwing rocks
interesting is didn't like one kind of thing that stuck out to me the most is I think we had a discussion about this about how they had AI computer go against doctors, right? And the AI came out 80%, and the doctors came out 80% right or
Mm-hmm.
accurate. Doctors were 70%. It makes me think where things are going in the future, right? When I think about it, it's like AI is gonna put a lot of people out of jobs. Not like even high skilled jobs, right? High skilled workers are gonna be out of work too, because it's like, what is gonna be the real place of a doctor? If you're a person, this machine is more accurate than a human, you know, unless you're more one
You,
that
you can't lay off doctors
why not?
because doctors have an oath and a commitment that they have to stick to until they die,
Mm,
for the most part.
okay.
You can't a doctor just can't get up and quit. It's not how it works. You can't just fire a doctor unless it's for
Wow.
insubordination or something like that, right? For malpractice. But most doctors have to stay in until they're pretty much dead.
Understood. We think it's gonna this type of information, this type of technology is gonna reduce the amount of doctors because I would imagine insurance companies are gonna push more for the machines, right?
Well, let's take for instance. I think Lionel had been to the VA in a couple of places and saw these robots basically carrying medicine around the hospital.
Mhm.
Mm,
I mean
interesting.
that
Yeah.
that capability that capability's already been in place, and Lionel says that was in place years ago.
Yeah,
So
like a decade ago at least.
Hmm.
Yeah.
mhm.
At least
I
a
mean,
decade ago.
yeah, I mean, a lot of the machinery too. I mean, even the modern, the stuff that's currently in use in most hospitals. I mean, it's relatively sophisticated, right? I mean, what it doesn't have. It doesn't have like AI power, right? And maybe some of the more the modern engineering. But even some of the instrumentation that we use today is, I mean, you know, it's sophisticated, right? So, you know, you know, kind of follow what Mike's saying. There's still going to be a need for physicians. There's going to be a need for doctors and all of that. I think what it is though is that the the technology is going to become more specialized, right? So it'll be able to do more specialized things. There's still going to have to be, I don't know if we're quite there yet where you're just going to go into something and it's just going to all be automated. It's just going to like hack and slice and repair your ligament or whatever. I don't think we're quite there yet, but there's going to be more instrumentation that's going to do more of the workload.
Right, and people are thinking that AI is just going to replace every single person. It's not going to replace every single person. It's actually going to be a personal assistant. So just like your Google Home, your Alexa actually helps you out. It doesn't actually replace you, right? So for most doctors, if they need to find a cure to something, they can actually go to their AI and get it within seconds rather than, do any of the manual labor that they would have done before, or sit at a round table and actually discuss this with other senior physicians. They wouldn't have to do that anymore. The AI would actually replace all of that and actually speed up the process. And then you put that into pharmaceuticals. At least in my hospital here in Boston, that stuff has been streamlined from start to finish. So if my doctor thinks that there's something wrong, he just writes up an order from his computer, and that's already been sent down to the pharmacy. The pharmacy has an automated machine that actually calls me or texts me and tells me that the prescription is even ready before I can even leave the office. No human element involved.
So they're streamlining it. They're making it more efficient, which saves money. Plus, it gives you the customer service a faster experience, right? Faster response time, which is kind of solving problems all across the board. So it's I think it's a good thing. But I think people who don't know about it too much are very afraid of it. They're thinking, they get afraid of it. But I think once they do their research and see how it really works, they're gonna learn they're gonna try to figure out how to incorporate in their own lives and their business and their work. And
they do it already though. I mean, everybody's walking around with a damn tricoder in their pocket, basically.
You got a point there.
And they want to summon a ride. They pull up Uber and boop, boop, there's a ride that pops up almost instant. It's like it's kind of like
to Complex's point, jobs that don't require a skill set will be the first ones to be replaced. So if you're just driving an Uber car or a Lyft car right now, your job will be gone in the next 10 years or so.
Your job was to do all of the mapping for Uber.
Right. There is no place for skillless people going into the fourth industrial revolution. There's just no place for that anymore.
That's a bitter pill to swallow. Ouch.
Yeah, and these robots that are going through the VA, and I'll say some hospitals, it's pretty simple when you think about it. They are, as they go through the halls delivering this medicine and its supplies, they're mapping the hallways, and they're in the hallways every day constantly. It's more than one, it's a couple of them. So not only there's a lot of them, but each one is reinforcing the mapping that the previous one took. And outside of that, they have sensors. So when people walk too close or in front of it, they have sensors where they'll detect that and stop in its tracks. So it's pretty simple, and they're programmed to go to whichever floor. Well, I don't know about floors, but whichever locations and come back. It's pretty simple.
And the other aspect is, even if you look at Amazon's warehouses, they bought a company here in Massachusetts, a robot company. I forget the name of it right now, off the top of my head. But they bought a robot company that basically does all the warehousing for them.
Dude, are you serious,
Mike? Amazon's warehouse. If you look at Amazon's warehouse, you see all of these little robots carrying all types of shells and logistics that are being ordered on Amazon every single minute. And there's no humans involved. They don't make any mistakes.
Dude, I was gonna say, it's funny you brought that. I was just about to go there, dude. I got the link for the video if you want to show it. It shows the robots that what Mike is just talking about. As soon as you started going there, I was like, oh, dude, this already went there.
Let's see here. One moment. Amazon warehouse. Here we go. Yep, those are the ones. Those are the ones that are at the VA. You attach things to them, it can pull. They're very powerful. Very powerful. They can pull things, carry things.
Yeah, Kiva. That's the name of the company, Kiva.
Keep.
The name.
All right.
Yeah, they're not too far away from me. They're only about 20 minutes away from me. But
Oh, that's pretty cool.
they don't make mistakes.
Nope.
There's no real reason to have a low income. I mean, not low income. A underskilled person. I mean, this is part of the problem that I see for Black people is that the ones who did not take the time to develop their skill set, the ones who just don't see the future for what it's going to be shaped out to be, these little devices running around in the warehouse is actually going to replace you.
Hey, Lionel, I sent you. There's 2 more links I sent you, and they're different types of systems. I'm just kind of sharing because it's like some stuff that I kind of get on some of my feeds on Facebook. But there's all these various types of bot systems for like large logistics and all this type of stuff. I mean, this is that in and of itself is a large industry, and there's all these different types of system designs for all these various types of bots and systems, warehouse logistics systems, all automated.
Hmm. Okay. So that's showing the difference between the two.
Right. That's what I'm saying. All these different types.
Wow.
You know what I would do want to say is to the people out there who are listening, right? Who you know, maybe in a part they're in a situation in life where they feel like, okay, how do I go ahead and take myself to the next level? How do I learn these certain necessary skills for the invest a year or 2 years of my time or 3 years of my time to learn these necessary skills that can be more beneficial to myself or themselves. I'm sorry, not myself, but themselves, financially. You know what I'm saying, and also enhance their job security, right? You know, there's also edx.org. You know, you can go there and learn certain skills, right, and get certifications, which adds more value to yourself, um, to go into a new field. So, um, to people out there, I wouldn't shy away from learning a new skill. Uh, I think once you technology might seem kind of complicated, but once you put the time into it, you know, and just like learning anything else, like, you know, just put the time into it, learning, and you know, you can better yourself. But you know, if you can put that link in the chat, that edx.org link, they offer various amount of courses from blockchain to solar panels to robotics, certain things like that, AI, so space exploration, certain things like that. So if you can take a look at that, you know, and focus on
Yeah,
building your skill
I
set.
put the link to edx.org in the chat, both in the chat and in the description.
Awesome, awesome, yeah.
All right. Anything else for tonight before we close it out? I'll put that. I'll put
I
that
had
in.
one more for the I had one more for Google's internet balloon that I tossed in the
Okay, let me get that.
the group chat.
All right. Going to put the link to edx.org in the chat, and I will add it to. All right. To the description. Let me open this up. This one comes from Engadget.com. Alphabet's Loon Internet Balloons broadcast their strongest signal yet, written by Timothy J. Sapala on September 11th. Last month, Loon pushed data almost 1,000 kilometers across 7 balloons. Balloons, people. Mere months after shedding its project moniker, Google's Internet by Balloon moonshot, Loon has hit milestone. Last month, the tech juggernaut pushed data packets across 7 of its balloons at a distance of nearly 1,000 kilometers. Previously, the record was 1,000 kilometers across 2 balloons, according to a Medium post from Loon. And as far as point-to-point goes, where one Loon balloon connects to another directly, the outfit broke its previous 100-kilometer record for that too and pushed data over 600 kilometers. Loon says that its longest point-to-point link thus far. Oh, Loon says that's its longest point-to-point link thus far. Speaking of Loon's special antennas, their accuracy is equivalent to throwing a ball 100 meters and landing it in a wastebasket. Wow. In this case, however, the wastebasket was in constant motion in the stratosphere. Cool, it is pretty cool. The net, well, the net benefit here is that Loon is essentially creating a floating mesh network for delivering internet connectivity, rather than daisy chaining from the first balloon and then the last after the initial ground-based connection. The balloons in between those are fully capable of broadcasting a signal as well. That's the sort of thing Loon is after and needs to have in place if it plans to start charging for the service next year. All right, the title again, Alphabet's Loon, or Google's Loon, Internet Balloons broadcast their strongest signal yet. All right, now Mike, what capabilities or how can this what's the one I'm looking for? What capabilities can this have in the future, and how can this be beneficial in the future?
You're talking about lighting up places like Haiti and Puerto Rico after major disasters,
Mm.
for internet service, because internet is considered to be a utility now by the United Nations. So you can't deprive people from being, having internet access. Um, you put these balloons up, and you can probably put up a dozen of them on the island and have full internet service without being subjugated and colonized by these private institutions like AT&T and T-Mobile and the other big four, Verizon and then Sprint. So I see this as a big step forward and something that can actually be very easily implemented because there's very little infrastructure that needs to be provisioned, provisioned for something like this. I'm gonna
Mm.
do some more searching on something like this, but in the previous hangouts we've talked about white spaces, but you're
Yes.
creating a white space right out of these balloons.
Any other comments on this one? No comments?
Well, I think that's interesting, man, because yeah, that'd be great for something like Haiti, man. Like, everybody has phones down there, and they can just put it on the Wi-Fi and they make their calls and learn, research things. Like, I don't know how they're doing it, but I'm seeing people who are poor have phones. I'm like, how they have phones? So
Oh,
uh, I think that's very interesting. Who came up with that design? Who came up with that
that's
to do
Google.
that? Google, huh? Hmm.
I know Facebook a while ago had came up with a balloon design as well, but I'm not sure where exactly it stopped at in terms of development. I know that Mark Zuckerberg was in Ghana not too long ago. I think earlier this year he was in Ghana, maybe like in January or something like that. So there's been major discussion in Africa about how to provide backbone internet service to some of these rural areas because the infrastructure just doesn't exist because there's no electricity. But when you factor in um, a sort of system like this, a balloon system like this, um, I can't see how it can go wrong. The only other problem I can probably see is maybe it gets attacked by birds or something. A flock of birds, probably punctures the balloon. I don't know what the material is made out of. I'm pretty sure that it must be something durable. Um, but other than that, maybe a lightning strike might be the worst case scenario. But outside of that, I don't see anything wrong with actually deploying these all over some of these rural areas in Africa, these villages.
How big are these balloons again?
Judging from that picture that was in the article, it looks like it's probably about the size of it looks like it's probably about 50 feet or something like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And imagine if the balloon had different compartments inside of it. So if it's punctured, then it'll still float instead of one puncturing
It would have to
sticking
be
out.
right. It would have to be something durable, right? So in order for it to stay up for X amount of time, because most balloons, like a hot air balloon, would actually come down after a certain amount of time, right? Even within a day or so. So if that balloon's going to be up there for 2, 3, or 4 years, and obviously it has to be up there for quite some time, the material would have to be something very, very solid. I'm pretty sure they factored all this stuff in, but that's the worst case scenario is that a bird flies in and punctures the balloon. But I don't see that happening. Definitely something that we should probably look into in the future.
Yes. That's pretty cool. All right. Any other comments? All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in to our Space and Technology show this Monday, September 24th. I'll put the link for edx.org in the chat. There you can find a plethora of useful classes for technology in which you can get certifications for and have under your belt and another feather in your hat. And I will also add the link in the description as always to follow along with the topics on the docket. All the links will be in the description also. So don't forget to come back Wednesday. We have our geopolitics show Wednesday, September 26th. And with that said, I'll catch you all on the next one.